The Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 2 5G is here to address all the complaints you had with the original Fold, except for the name. And now that I've had it for a few days, here's what I think about it. Hey everyone, this is Abbas from Tech Radar, and if you enjoy this video, please don't forget to subscribe and ring that bell. The way I wanted to approach this review was to look at the Fold 2 in three different ways. The three ways that Samsung highlights the states of this phone: folded, unfolded, and partly folded. Let's start with the folded mode, which is how most people will use this phone most of the time. One of the biggest complaints about the original Fold was the tiny 4.6-inch external screen that really wasn't usable for anything other than taking a call or maybe skipping between your songs. The Z Fold 2 has a much larger 6.2-inch screen, and Samsung has managed to do this by making the Fold 2 slightly wider and stretching the screen from edge to edge. This definitely makes the Fold 2 much more usable, and I can almost type anything on it now. But I'd like Samsung to rethink the width of the screen. I'd prefer something that is closer to the Samsung Galaxy S10e or the Pixel 4. Neither of those are very wide phones and are comfortable enough to be used with one hand, but allow for a good typing experience. I'd also like Samsung to reduce the height of this phone so it's closer to an 18:9 aspect ratio, because not only is that more in line with the current generation of phones, but when unfolded, you'll get a more landscape view, and we'll get to that in the unfolded section. Other than the screen size and the aspect ratio, I think Samsung has done a fine job with the Fold 2. It feels very premium in your hand, and though it's slightly heavier than the original Fold, you really won't notice it. This bronze color with the matte finish on the back looks as good as the Note 20 Ultra, which I think is one of the nicest looking phones of this year. You can also customize the strip to make the phone much more personal, which I think is a great touch. Moving to the unfolded state, again you have a larger 7.6-inch screen thanks to the wider design and shrunken bezels. Samsung is using the same ultra-thin glass layer on the Z Fold 2 that we saw on the Z Flip, and it feels much nicer than the original Fold. I removed the screen protector on the phone, though Samsung recommends that you have one of their specialists do so, which is probably a better option considering how much this phone costs. The inside screen is large, beautiful, and a joy to use. Though very much like the external screen, I would have preferred this inside screen to open in a shorter and wider state, because Android apps don't switch to their tablet version when you unfold this phone. You have to open and rotate the phone for the apps to switch into tablet state, which adds one extra step. Now, just to be clear, I'm talking about third-party Android apps. Samsung has updated some of its apps to provide a dual-pane experience whichever way you're holding the phone. There are a few third-party apps that work well in both orientations as well, such as Palaver and Spotify. However, apps such as Outlook or Gmail require you to rotate the phone to switch to their tablet versions. You will also come across apps that aren't optimized for the aspect ratio on the inside screen. Apps such as Instagram, where you have large black borders around them, also don't transition well from the external screen to the internal screen. Now, considering we are very early in the development of foldable phones, I think that's okay. Hopefully, Android developments for foldables will have app developers making better use of folding phones. Overall, I love the inside screen on the Fold 2. It provides a much more immersive experience than using a phone, even if the phone has as large of a screen as the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. The 120Hz refresh rate, along with the Snapdragon 865 Plus processor and 12 gigs of RAM, make it extremely smooth to use the phone. Storage is fixed and non-expandable at 256 GB, which is going to be okay for most people, but again, when you're paying $2,000 for a phone, you do expect more. Alright, so let's move to that final mode that lies somewhere between the folded and the unfolded states, and let's start with the hinge that makes it possible. The cam hinge that Samsung has used makes the screen stay put at many different angles. It's similar to what we saw with the Galaxy Z Flip. The resistance on the hinge is a lot more consistent, and that makes the Fold 2 feel much more polished product than the original. Being able to use the Fold at different angles allows you to use the phone in a flex mode, or as I'd like to call it, a laptop mode. There's a tent mode, which is fine for watching videos on the external screen, but if you really want to get anything done, you'd want to put the Fold 2 in flex mode or the laptop mode. If an app is optimized for this flex mode, it can be split into two individual screens. For example, when you're watching a video on YouTube, you can have the video playing on the top half of the screen, with its information and other details on the bottom half. Similarly, the Samsung Galaxy Gallery app allows you to see the larger photo on the main screen or on the top part of the screen, with swiping controls and buttons at the other half of the screen. Apps that support this flex mode, such as Google Meet, work really well, but unfortunately there aren't many apps that support it, at least not yet. For the apps that don't support this view, content just bends and flows from one screen to the other. However, if the app requires input from a keyboard, the bottom screen becomes keyboard and the top screen shows the app. That's why I call it a laptop mode, and it reminds me very much of the Nokia communicator with its screen on top and the tiny keyboard at the bottom. I do wish more apps take use of the Flex mode. Samsung has done a good job showcasing the Flex mode particularly well in the camera app, where the top screen acts like a viewfinder and the bottom screen shows you information such as the preview as well as the camera control buttons. Using this mode also allows you to take a long exposure picture without needing a tripod. Speaking of the camera, there are 3 on the back of the Z Fold 2, all of them with a 12 megapixel sensor, and all of them take pretty good pictures from ultra wide to zoomed in. The videos are pretty good too, and they're very similar to the Galaxy S20 Plus. You have the fast focusing dual pixel technology and really good low light mode. Taking advantage of the Fold's form factor, there are a couple of additional features, such as using the main camera to take selfies, which allows you to take much higher quality selfies than the 10 megapixel punch hole camera present on the 2 screens. You can also set a mode where both the subject and the photographer can see the viewfinder, so you know exactly what your picture is going to look like when you hand the phone to someone else and ask them to take a picture. So those are the 3 states in which you can use the Galaxy Z Fold 2. Samsung has made a huge leap from the first generation of the Fold to this one, and that makes me excited about what we can expect in the future. But is the Fold worth the $2,000 price tag? Obviously, there isn't a universal answer to that, but what I can say is that if you like the original Fold, you'll love the changes that Samsung has made to the Fold 2. If you were on the fence about the original, I think the Fold 2 will convince you to make the jump. As for me, I think I'm going to go back to the Note 20 Ultra as my daily driver. I prefer a phone that has slightly wider screen accessible to me all the time. And you know what? Honestly speaking, Samsung doesn't need to put in a lot of work to make the Fold 2 into such a phone. Really, all it needs to do is, instead of folding like this, maybe have it folded in this way, where you're going to have a screen that's a little bit wider and shorter and opens up in a landscape mode. This is Abbas signing out, and stay tuned to Tech Radar for everything in the world of tech. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and please do ring that bell.